hoist the flag, all free without a slave. We'll fight to defend it as our fathers did so brave. The gallant Company A will make the rebels dance. We'll stand by the Union if we only have a chance.
Welcome, folks. We are members of the 54th Massachusetts Volunteer Infantry Company A reenactors, and we are here to give you our portrayal of the 54th Massachusetts Volunteer Infantry Regiment and the role they played in the Civil War. I'm Joseph Zellner. I will introduce each of the members and they will tell you something about themselves. I portray, I've stepped out of order. You're going to do the uniform.
Just go ahead and do it first.
Okay. I portray Solomon Pierce, who was a member of the 54th Mass. He was a father of 3, soon to be 4, unbeknownst to him. 4th child was born while he was in the military. He lived in Munson, Massachusetts, and his grave and headstone is in Munson, Massachusetts. And if you visit the Hillcrest Cemetery in Munson, you can find his grave. Do people know where Munson is located in Massachusetts? Munson, Massachusetts is just 2 towns east of Springfield. It's right on the Connecticut border. It's on the southern border of Massachusetts, and the Hillcrest Cemetery is right off of Main Street if you were to visit and travel down that direction. My interest in Solomon Pierce was that he was 42 years old when he joined, and I was almost 42 when I joined as a reenactor. I was a little bit older than 42, but I figured I could fool people. I could pretend to be 42. One of the problems with that, though, is Solomon Pierce was 42. Each year I got older, and I'm nowhere near 42 anymore. But in any case, Solomon Pierce, his 2 sons, and a nephew, 4 members of that family, all joined the 54th Massachusetts Regiment. And Solomon, his youngest son, and his nephew survived the war. His oldest son was buried in the common grave at Fort Wagner, and his name is on the monument in Boston across from the State House, Harrison Pierce. I would like to also comment on how it is that our 54th Infantry happens to be here at the Ellen Garrison, well, I guess it's the Caesar Robbins house. Granddaughter is Ellen Garrison. Everyone knows of Emerson's, Thoreau's, Alcott's, other famous Concordians, but very few people are aware of the Garrisons, the Hutchinsons, the members of the black family that lived here at this house from 1823 until 1868. One of the members of this house, John Garrison, grandson of Caesar Robbins, John Garrison became a high-ranking city official here in Concord, Massachusetts up through the 1860s. He was the equivalent of the highway superintendent. He was a tithing man at the Congregational Church. He had several responsibilities in the town that gave him a salary from the town. And he didn't begin his livelihood here, but spent part of his life in this house. It was in a different location at that time, but nonetheless, it was this building that we have renovated. John Garrison was the neighbor of George Washington Dugan. George Washington Dugan was a representative and a representative of the 54th Mass and a resident of Concord, Massachusetts. As old as Solomon Pierce was at 42, George Washington Dugan was even older. He was 44 when he joined the regiment. So the African American residents of Concord, active in the American Revolution, active in the French and Indian War, active in the Civil War, all have a recognizable place in the history of this particular house and this particular family in Concord, Massachusetts. They were a member of the African American community here, and we try to represent that as we represent others in the, as we try to represent others in the Caesar Robbins house, as we have so named it. And one of those was Ellen Garrison, the youngest member of that family. Ellen was born in this house. She will be the youngest surviving member of the Garrison family, and she will be educated here in Concord, being a teacher in Boston, Mass, in Virginia, and in the Port Deposit on the Susquehanna River in Maryland. So there is reason for we of the 54th being here today, in that we are representing our regiment, who was represented in Concord by George Washington Dugan. One last reference that I'll make is that we know that John Garrison, the grandson of Caesar Robbins, John Garrison was a spokesman in 1862 when Concord raised a regiment of volunteers to join, I believe, the 20th Massachusetts Volunteer Infantry. John Garrison was called on to speak to that group of men who were going off to be trained at Camp Meigs in Reedville, and it was John Garrison who gave the speech, the send-off speech, to that group of men. We don't know what John Garrison said that day, but we do have record that he was the speaker of record in that day, because Sarah Ripley, resident at the Old Manse just across the street, wrote to one of her children telling that child of what John had done in that send-off, and I can quote, she wrote in her letter that John Garrison gave the speech and the crowd gave a grand huzzah, which was a typical means of showing your affirmation for what was just said. So we do know that John Garrison, resident of this house, speaking to members of a regiment going off to Camp Meigs to be trained, that John Garrison and later on George Washington Dugan, a member of the 54th, will leave from this town and go off and join in the fight for preservation of the Union and to end slavery in these United States. I will introduce our lieutenant, and Lieutenant, if you would.
Yeah, so you just talked a little bit about the personal story of Solomon Pierce and the things that he was doing. I was going to go over some of the details of what these guys are wearing, because we do get a lot of questions on that. The majority of the uniform is wool. Yeah, he's sweating again. Jeez. So, you know, white cotton shirt and things like that. But the coat, they would have called this a coat. It's more the weight of what we would call a jacket. Is dark blue wool, sky blue wool trousers, and a dark blue wool hat. The forage cap has gone out of style. This is maybe the most distinctive part of a Civil War uniform, because we don't see hats like this anymore. Basically, we still see things of the general shape and things of the rest of the uniform, but not that. So the forage cap is a forerunner to the build caps that everybody's wearing right now, all the ball caps and things like that. They called this a cap to differentiate it from a hat that had a full brim the whole way around. Some regiments were issued hats, but most went with caps. His shoes are what we call brogans. Those could be single or common lasted. Anybody know what a common lasted shoe is? It means it doesn't have a right or left. They make the same shoe over and over and over again. Yeah. And it's important to keep them that way. If you get a good pair of common lasted shoes, you want to switch what foot you wear them on each day, just like rotating tires. That promotes even wear, and it makes the shoes last a lot longer. You can wear out a good 1/4 inch of shoe leather in a week just walking around, and the majority of the work that shoemakers did in the 19th century was resoling shoes. So yeah, you wanna promote even wear if you have common lasted brogans. What's that? Heel plates? Yep, he's got steel heel plates on. Those also reduce wear on the heel. So when the whole thing finally does need to be replaced, the heel plate will go with it. But that'll add a lot of life to the heel. The next thing we're going to talk about is all the stuff he's wearing on top of the clothing. You put these things on in the order that you want to take them off. You put them in the opposite order. So first goes the leathers. There's a belt that supports a bayonet scabbard, cap box and cartridge box, which are the ammo pouches for this musket. You're going to take that off last in a battle or if something's going wrong, so you put it on first. That'll be the last thing you want to take off. Next goes on is the haversack. This is a mostly waterproof fabric, big bag. This is designed to hold a mess kit and 3 days worth of food. So you got a tin plate, a tin cup, fork, spoon, knife, 30 hardtack biscuits, a couple pounds of boiled salt pork, and enough coffee and sugar to make probably 2-3 pints of coffee a day. So that's the haversack. You eat less often than you drink, so the haversack goes on and then the canteen goes on top of it. You're going to take the canteen off the most frequently to refill it, so that goes on last, because you don't have to take all this other stuff off to get your canteen off or to refill it or to get a drink of water. Canteens are tin covered in fabric, so if you give it a good soaking when you refill it, the fabric will evaporate that water and keep the water inside cool. My haversack's a little bit different. This is an officer's haversack, not issued by the government. You just had to go and buy this from a leather goods shop or something like that. And it is different. It has little organizers in it for carrying writing utensils and stationery and stuff like that. It's got all these little divider pockets and stuff that his doesn't. Officers have legal and fiduciary duties that enlisted men do not. So we got to be able to do paperwork. Any questions so far on that? Okay, well, the other similarities are...
Morgan, I've got a knapsack on too if you want to type it out.
Oh, yeah, turn around. Everything else goes in the knapsack. Hypothetically, you're going to fit a full change of clothes, half a tent, and every 2 men will assemble the tents at night via a system of buttons that connect them together. Along with a wool blanket and a rubber blanket. The rubber blanket is your waterproof tarp to sleep on. It's your raincoat if you wrap it around yourself and hook it shut like a cape. And this has 2 different compartments in it. The first compartment is usually for your camping gear, like the half a tent. And the second compartment is for your clothes, and that flaps down, and then the bedroll goes up on these straps. Although right now the bedroll is inside his pup tent, laid out, so you can't see it. All right, similarities between these are we both got the same cap box. We've both got a cartridge box. This cartridge box is a lot smaller than this one. They carry a lot fewer rounds, and pistol rounds are smaller than musket rounds. So instead of the musket, I've got a pistol. And right at the same place he's got the bayonet, I have this, because these don't run out of bullets, so you still need these no matter what. Right? Any questions? If no one asks any questions, I will just pick on someone until they ask a question out of sheer embarrassment. Yes?
Why are they both sergeants and they have different colored patching?
That is an excellent question. You care to explain that?
Can you repeat the question, please?
Why the different color chevrons on their arms?
All right. This blue, of course, is infantry, marching soldiers. Mine is light blue, marching soldiers as well. And I also have the distinction of having a diamond, which makes me the first sergeant. And he would be the second or the third, or sometimes the fourth sergeant. But I outrank him by 1 rank. So that's what the difference is with chevrons. These are chevrons right here, and the diamond is a lozenge or a diamond. It's called.
And the first sergeant is the senior most enlisted advisor to the company commander. The Army runs on first sergeants. So
Thank you, Lieutenant.
there you go.
What about the decoration on the
I was
hats?
waiting for somebody to ask that question.
That's a
Waiting for
regret.
someone to ask that question.
We show them your hat. So we got a 54 because we're in the Massachusetts 54th Infantry. We got this hunting horn because it's an infantry regiment. If we were a cavalry regiment or an artillery battery, we'd have something else here instead of this horn. And we got the letter A because we were Company A. There's 10 companies in a regiment. So that's your address. If you wrote a letter and wrote somebody's name, Massachusetts 54th Company A, it would get to them eventually. You can't say that you want to send it to somebody's name and then a place because the regiment's always moving around.
The third oak tree from the left, right?
Yeah. so you send it to the regiment and the company, and the mail will catch up to them eventually when they sit still.
Well, another thing,
Yes.
the stripe.
Oh,
Your stripe, my
Yeah,
stripe.
we got various stripes on the trousers, which are another distinction of rank. Yeah.
That small one represents, he's a lieutenant, and I believe the captain as well.
Yeah.
And I'm the sergeant. Sergeants have the widest stripe. I believe the corporals have a smaller stripe. Yeah, like that. That's right. There's a smaller stripe size. Distinction of that. Also, Lieutenant,
yeah.
you want to talk about that?
Sashes. Yeah. Yeah, you get a burgundy sash if you're commissioned and a scarlet sash if you're a sergeant. But that's the hypothetical too. A lot of that you don't wear in combat because it might get dirty.
Gotta make you bigger.
You could be targeted, but it was also just one more thing to encumber you. And you know, and we know that from letters that people wrote home talking about being in specific battles and saying, oh, because it looked like things might go wrong, you know, I took off my sash and put it in my knapsack and sent that to the back, and I got rid of this thing and sent that to the back, and yeah. And during the summer campaign season, clothing wore out very quickly. A lot of the things, you know, a lot of rank-specific clothing would wear out, and you'd buy a private's coat and wear that for the rest of the summer until you got something else in the fall because it was expensive to replace and things. So, yeah. Good question. Yeah, we are now going to load and fire in 9 times, 1 time. So,
Okay.
First Sergeant, do you want to
I'm going to
put the men through load and fire 9 times?
I'm going to defer it to my sergeant.
Attention company. Shoulder, arms. Load in 9 times. Load. You gotta bring the rifle down between their feet. Put their hands on their cartridge box. Handle cartridge. The men will grab the cartridge out of the box, bring it to their mouth. Tear cartridge. They'll tear the cartridge with their teeth and bring it to the muzzle. Charge cartridge. Unloading the powder and the mini ball. That's going to be the projectile. Draw rammer. We're not going to fire for real. You don't have to worry about that. Ram cartridge. Now we're packing down the bullet or the projectile and the powder all the way down to the bottom of the barrel. Return rammer. Self-explanatory. Men are careful to keep their hands away from, if we fire multiple times, this will be nice and hot, and there could be embers in there, so as a precaution, we use the back of our hand or even a pinky finger to bring that down and not cover that bore. Prime. Soldiers bring their feet back in a T, elevate the rifle, reach into their cap pouch, and grab a cap, just like the caps that a lot of us played with cap guns when we were younger, and that goes on what's called the nipple of the rifle. Ready, full cock, aim, and they aim, fire, boom. Recover, arms. Shoulder, arms. Order, arms, rest.
Now
Thank
that
you.
was to be
A lot
done.
of that work. Thank you.
That's slow. That's slow, right?
Yeah.
He's going to say something. Go ahead.
But a
Joe.
well-drilled soldier could do and repeat that process 3 times in a minute. And you would just fluidly go through all of those 9 positions, fire and do it again, and then do it again. And a well-drilled soldier was reported to be able to do it 3 times in a minute, 20 seconds. I've never seen anyone do that. But nonetheless.
Lieutenant, you want to talk about the rations?
Only people that need to, yeah.
'Cause that's why I come.
So what else did we cover last time? We discussed the
Go with Sergeant Carney.
Sergeant Carney. Talk a little bit about Sergeant Carney.
Sure, sure.
'Twas the gray against the blue, boys, and he said to all around, I've only done my duty. The old flag never touched the ground. The old flag never touched the ground, he said to all around. I only did my duty. The old flag never touched the ground. Those are the words of a song that were written for me. My name is Sergeant William H. Carney. I was the first African American to earn the Medal of Honor, and I earned it at the Battle of Battery Wagner, the assault on Battery Wagner in South Carolina in July 18th of 1863. During the course of the battle, the man carrying the American flag was shot, and as he went down, I cast aside my rifle and picked up the standard. It's very important to have the flags present so the soldiers knew where they were supposed to be in position in the battle based on where the flags were. So it was a very important thing to have somebody carry that flag. When I saw the flag bearer go down, I took it upon myself to carry it. I carried the flag throughout that evening. Was shot 5 times carrying the battle. During the night, bullet grazed my head. Another bullet shattered my femur. Another bullet hit me in the side. But I kept going on. I took the flag off the flagstaff at one point and tucked it in my jacket to protect it. At one point, I came across a young man from the 100th New York, and he offered to help me. And I said I wasn't going to bring the flag back to anybody but a man from the 54th. So that young man from the 100th New York helped me back to safety, and I got the flag back to our lines and to our men. Turned it over, and I got an applause from all the men in the infirmary. And I said, I only did my duty, boys. The old flag never touched the ground. So that became the famous saying that I repeated in song as I did tours after the war, talking about my Medal of Honor. Again, I was the first African American to earn the Medal of Honor during the Civil War. First African American ever to earn the Medal of Honor. So the songs that were sung, there were 2 songs. One that I sang was I did my tours talking about my exploits during the war, and another that was written by the same writing team that wrote Lift Every Voice and Sing. Some of you may be familiar with the Negro National Anthem. They also wrote a song called Boys, the Old Flag Never Touched the Ground. So I want to share a little bit of that song with you. You guys will help me out. I'm going to be the audience, and you guys are going to be Sergeant Carney. So when I say, Huzzah, Sergeant Carney, you're going to say, I only did my duty. And I'm going to repeat that again. I'll say, Huzzah, Sergeant Carney. You guys will say, I only did my duty. I'm going to say, the rebels hit you 5 times. You would not go down. And you're going to say, the old flag never, she never touched the ground. All right? Huzzah, Sergeant Carney.
I only did my duty.
Huzzah, Sergeant Carney.
I only did my duty.
The rebels hit you 5 times. You would not go down. The old
flag never touched the ground.
The old flag never touched the ground, boys. The old flag never touched the ground. Though shot and shell fell all around, boys, the dear old rag was never down. The old flag never touched the ground, boys. Far to the front was ever found. She's been in many a fix since 1776, but the old flag never touched the ground. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Good afternoon. I have been a reenactor for 26 years. And I became a reenactor when I found out that my family, we were descendants of one of the members of the 54th Regiment. My family went to not a family reunion, but a family union. I met family members I never knew before in my life at this union. We found out our 5th grade uncle, Oliver Hazard, he was born in Townsend, Mass, and he passed away, he's laid to rest in Leominster, Mass. And in August of 1998, my family and other family members that I'd never met before came to a ceremony in Leominster, first at the cemetery in Leominster, where Oliver Hazard is laid to rest, and he's laid to rest beside his wife, and he also survived in the war as well. And I found out that the 54th as reenactors showed up there too at the cemetery. And one of the members was my sister, who was a member on the ladies' side. They had the ladies' side, they weren't soldiers, but they had the ladies that helped the men out during the war, and they would help them with food, the wounded, and also laundries. And my sister was one of the members. And for years she kept bugging me, Gerard, I want you to join. And so her boyfriend at that time was our first sergeant, one of the founding members of our regiment as reenactors. He too said to join. And it took me 6 months to join. And I finally joined when I went to this ceremony event. And I do not regret this, because two of my 2 sons, I keep saying 2 of my sons, I only have 2 sons. My 2 sons were members of this regiment as well, when they were 10 and 11. One is 34 and one is 36. And they stopped at 20, in their 20s. And I'm very proud that they joined, because they learned a lot of history if they didn't join, if they weren't with me. So I'm proud of that. And also my 4 nephews were members of the regiment when they were teenagers. They're in their mid-40s now. Early 40s, excuse me. And my mother and like I said, my sister and another sister were members as well of the regiment. And it's just not me as family members that joined this regiment. I had family members that are part of this regiment. Members of the 54th had their family members being members too, as well. So there was like a whole bunch of family members of this regiment. And I'm so proud being a member of this regiment. And I can attest that all these gentlemen as well are proud members as well, because they wouldn't be doing this for years and years and years. They have this this fire in them. And I feel that they still have that fire in them. So I'm very proud of them, and I'm proud of myself. And I thank you very much. Woo! Does anyone have any comments, questions they want to ask? Thank you. Comments or questions?
Thank you. Just thank you so much for bringing history alive and putting a face on what we imagine may have happened.
Thank you very much. Very well said. Thank you. Yes.
Are there larger gatherings than
Yeah, there's about 25 members.
Yes.
We'll get half a dozen at any given thing,
Yeah,
based on people's schedules. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. Is there like an annual convention or like an annual event that you guys all go to?
The only annual event would be like our members meeting.
Yeah.
If we're having elections, that's the annual meeting. Majority of the men and women would hopefully show up. Any other questions?
One of the things I'd like to add is that there are other reenacting companies.
Oh yeah.
That we reenact as Company A. There's a Company B in Washington, D.C., which is a very active group. There's a Company E in Springfield, Massachusetts, which is, I'm not sure they're defunct, but I haven't seen them out recently. There's a Company I in Charleston, South Carolina. There's a Company K, members reenact out of Atlanta, primarily through the university, Atlanta University there. So there are other reenacting companies reenacting different companies of the 54th Mass. It's also interesting to note that Company C in Boston is the National Guard, Massachusetts National Guard Company C, which is full-time, regular-time Army. And they were renamed Company C of the 54th Mass by our former governor, in 2016?
Yes. 2008.
Oh, okay. So, oh yes, that's right. Just prior to the election. So there are other groups reenacting as companies of the 54th Mass.
There are also over 200,000. There was also over 200,000 black men that fought for the Union and Army and Navy during the Civil War as well. That's about 10% of the armed forces at that time.
It's more than both sides of Gettysburg.
Any another question? Well, we thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much.
We do have, I'm sorry, Joe, we do have a selection of books inside if anybody's interested. There's also a book list or a bibliography to go along with those. On top of the books, you'll also see a coloring sheet, a large coloring sheet that you're welcome to take for young people in your house or for yourselves if you like. We have some giveaways as well at this table here, some coloring sheets and some cards from the monument downtown in Boston. So please help yourselves. Take a look at the rashes we have on the table here. Our lieutenant brought some examples of what the men would have been given on a daily basis. We'll take a look at that on the table here as well.
Also, if you haven't seen the movie Glory, that depicts this 54th Regiment history. I would suggest that you see that movie. That movie came out in 1989. It starred Matthew Broderick, who portrayed Colonel Shaw, the commanding officer of the regiment. Also in that movie is Morgan Freeman, Carrie Ellis, Robin Hood Men in Tights, The Princess Bride, Andre Brower. He recently passed away about a year and a half ago. And also, this actor is a black actor. His initials are DW. Who's DW? Who's DW? Thank you. He won an Academy Award for the Best Supporting Actor in that movie.
What was the name of the movie again?
Glory. One word. Glory.
88 or 89?
88. I mean 89. 89. Oh, well, we thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So my name is Jen Turner, and I'm the executive director of the Robbins House, which is Concord's Museum of African American History. So today we had an encampment of the 54th Massachusetts Regiment, which was the first all-black Northern regiment raised during the Civil War. And they were created in 1863, and their pinnacle battle in 1863 was the Battle of Fort Wagner, which happened in South Carolina. So it happened on July 18th, 1863. So we wanted to take a moment to sort of honor and think about the sacrifice of African-American soldiers during the Civil War to really extend the freedom that the patriarch of the Robbins family, Caesar Robbins, and other patriots of color gave during the American Revolution, and how there are sort of several parallels between the patriots of color who fought during the American Revolution and then helped to gain that freedom and eventual emancipation during the Civil War. So that's why we had the event today. There's also a local connection to the 54th as well. There was a man named George Washington Dugan, who, as an adult, he was in his 40s. He was 44 years old when he ended up enlisting in the 54th in 1863, and he actually died at the Battle of Fort Wagner. And for several years, decades, more than 100 years, his name was not represented on the memorial to all the Concordians who died in the Civil War. That has been rectified, but his story is actually much more well known now in the community because of that. So we wanted to sort of highlight George Washington Dugan's participation and role in the 54th as well.
Hello, my name is Tammy Rose, and I run transcendentalconcord.org. I am a really big fan of the Robbins House. I love going to all of their events, and today I was here for the 54th Volunteer Regiment reenactor presentation. It was really amazing. They had 4 gentlemen dressed in uniform, and they talked about the soldiers that they were portraying and the uniforms that they were wearing and the different details of each of the uniforms. And I really feel like it really brings it home about what the soldiers actually, had to go through, how many people actually fought in the Civil War, just all the details and complexity, even like the rations that they had to carry, what they carried in their knapsack, what they carried in their, their day bag. All of these things that are just tangible reminders of what people in history experienced, what they went through, and without all the gore, without all the violence of history. I get lots of that in history books, and I feel like it's very important to understand the history and to know what the Civil War was really fought over in terms of slavery. The very fact that African Americans would volunteer to fight for that, it's something that brings tears to my eyes. There was one gentleman who was talking about, there's a song that was written he was the first gentleman to earn the Medal of Honor, because in the middle of battle, he ran to save the flag to make sure it never touched the ground. And they wrote a whole song about it because it was an act of bravery and an act of honor back when the flag really, and the Union really meant something to people. It's an honor to come to the Robbins House. Every time I come here, I feel like it's always an amazing event. They had a reading of What to the Slave is the 4th of July, and they had a reading of the Declaration of Independence on the 4th of July. They did a Juneteenth celebration here, and they do something for the Thoreau Society where they read Civil Disobedience. The Robbins House and they have art in the front yard. I mean, the Robbins House is always just incredible. There's always something new going on, and I always love to come and visit Ellen Garrison as well. She's a teacher, and one really has to admire her life and what she did as well.